Okay, so we are going to be working on our snowman card, and I think this one's probably my favorite one out of all of them. Although I do like them all, this one just, it makes me very happy. So what we're going to need for this card, I'm going to be using one of my quarter sheet writing papers, and I already have it cut out. This is a Happy Holiday one. I am going to need scissors, of course, a glue stick. I will definitely want crayons. You could probably do it with colored pencils, but crayons are colored pencils because we are going to be using the white one, so a marker is not going to work as well. And the cuts we are going to need, here's an example of one. We are going to need 2 rectangles of the same color. This is going to be for the scarf. As you can tell, my sample has red. This one I'm going to actually do blue. And again, same color. You don't have to choose blue. You can choose whatever color you would like. I'm doing mine blue. You're going to need a black rectangle. This is going to be our eyes, a pink square, that is going to be our cheeks, and then an orange rectangle for our nose. The last piece you're going to need is a white sheet of paper. So this is actually cardstock, that's that thicker paper. This is the only card that I really think you probably should do white because it is a snowman, but again, it's your choice. We're going to start by folding it in half. So remember, I like to do our top corner to top corner, bottom corner to bottom corner. And we're going to press down. And I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to actually do my writing first. So again, I'm doing a quarter sheet. So this is one of the smaller sheets. There are also bigger ones as well, but you can do whatever one you would want. I'm just choosing the Happy Holidays. They're all different ones. And I'm going to start by coloring it, and then I'm going to write my message. Once you're done, you're just going to glue it inside, and then you can close it up, and we're going to go ahead and start our snowman. So I do like to start with the scarf on this one just because the tails of the scarf, I usually like to make sure they're near the bottom of the card. This one, you can see I did it where they're kind of short, and I didn't really love that. So I'm going to show you what I mean by starting with this to make sure that you like where the scarf is. We do have 2 rectangles that are the same color, and that is because they are both part of the scarf. We are going to be using both these pieces. The longer piece, you'll notice one is longer, one is shorter. The longer piece is going to be the main part of the scarf, or the part that goes across your neck. And then this little shorter piece, we're going to cut it in half, and this is going to be the tail of the scarf, or when you're tying a scarf and the parts that hang down, that's what these are going to be. You can tell on the example that it is 2 different ones, and how I'm going to do that is take my rectangle, the short one, and I'm going to just fold it in half, press down, and then open it up, and all you do is cut right along that fold, and you now have created 2 separate little rectangles. Again, I start with this just because then I make sure the scarf is where I want it, because it helps me figure out where the rest of his face is going to go. I don't glue this piece down yet. What I'm going to do is actually figure out where I want the tail part, or the bottom, the hanging part of my scarf to be first. I did say how on this one you can tell where the end of it is. I can see it. You can leave it like that, that's fine. I just want it to look like it's still continuing down my snowman, because normally a scarf is going to be very long. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I kind of line up this, and I make sure that both corners of these little ones are either right at the edge of this paper or going past it. And if it goes past it, that's fine. We can just cut it off and we're done, because we're going to actually use that for a few other pieces. The other part of this is you can figure out where you want them to be. So do you want it on a side? Do you want it in the middle? Another side? Your choice. I actually think I'm going to do it this side. I normally don't, but I'm going to. So just put a stripe of glue on the back. And I'm going to glue it down. And then I also do like mine to overlap just a little bit, because usually, again, when we're tying that scarf and putting it around our neck, they're connected. It's like tying your shoes, so they're not going to be on opposite sides. Usually they're going to be pretty close to each other, but you could do them separate. It's up to you. I just like to put mine near each other. Again, I'm going to make sure that both those corners of this one are either at the bottom of that page or past it. Now I have my two parts of my scarf down. My next step is going to be taking that longer rectangle in the same color and just covering it so I don't see those tops and it looks like my scarf is actually tied and put together. So all you do, glue. I will tell you that part of this is going to overhang your card. And that is intentional right now, just to make sure that it goes all the way across the card. My scarf is now completed. Again, if I flip it over, you're going to see I do have pieces hanging off. I'm going to wait till the end to do that because there's a chance that I might need to trim a little bit of my cheeks that I'm making, and I'm just going to do it all at once. So we have the scarf. Next step, I'm going to do the nose. So you're going to need your orange rectangle and your scissors. When I take my rectangle, I'm going to hold it so it's taller. And what we are going to do is we're going to make a triangle. To do this, we're going to start at one corner at the bottom, and I am going to cut a diagonal line up and to the middle of my rectangle. I don't know where the exact middle is. I'm just going to guess looking at it. And if it's not the exact middle, that is okay, because if you've ever seen an actual carrot, they are never perfectly shaped. I have one side now. You can see another triangle came off, and what I'm going to do is flip it over, do the same exact thing on this side, except this side is a little bit easier because instead of having to figure out where the middle is, I'm going to do a diagonal cut to where I cut that last one off. So just go start from one corner, go straight up diagonal, and I have these two little triangles. I don't need them, so I can set those aside. And now I have my nose. You can leave it like this and not do anything and just have a straight triangle as your nose. I do like to add a little bit more dimension or detail, and all I'm going to do is take my triangle and I'm going to just kind of cut like little divots or little chunks out of it. Not very big, just very, very tiny. You can do like a little wavy line. You don't even have to do the whole thing. You can tell now, it's not very noticeable, but you can see how this top part is wavy and how these are very straight. It does just add it a little bit of texture, more dimension. It makes it look more realistic. I like to do this to all three sides of this triangle. And the cool thing is they don't have to match. It doesn't have to be identical. You can kind of do what you want. You could do two sides, you could do one side, you can do all three, or again, you could do none. So I have my triangle. Here are my little pieces I cut off. Again, not very many. Very just small pieces I'm cutting off to just give it a little bit more texture. I'm not going to glue anything down until I have the rest of these pieces down. The only thing I wanted to glue down first was the scarf, and then from there we'll glue down the other pieces. Next, we're going to start with our cheeks, and we're going to do this because this square, the pink one, is pretty large. And what we do to this one, we're actually going to be doing onto this, but it's much easier to show you on this one than it is on this tiny one. I'm going to take my pink square. These are going to be my cheeks. You can see on my sample, my cheeks are half circles or semicircles. I only need one circle, and we're going to cut it in half. But first, we're going to make this circle. What you're going to do is take your scissors, and on each of these corners, basically just going to cut off a little triangle. And once I've done that on all the sides, I've made an octagon. It has 8 sides and 8 points. You can see here are my 4 corners I cut off. The next step of that is I'm going to now take my 8 other corners I just made, do the same thing, but they're going to be much smaller cuts. So I'm just going to cut straight across. And you can tell I'm turning my shape as I cut, not my scissors. I cut off my 8 triangles. Do you see how much tinier these ones are compared to these? Much smaller. Each time I do this and you go around and we're making a round or circular shape from a rectangle or square, we're going to do smaller and smaller cuts each time. When you look at it, you can see it's definitely rounder, but I still see points, and I can still, when I'm touching it, I can really still feel those big bumps as I'm going. So same thing again. This time, even smaller, just straight cuts right across. And some of them you'll notice as you're cutting, some spots you may realize you don't need to trim anything. Okay. My last one I just did, you can barely see my little trimmings. Again, each time I did it, smaller and smaller cuts. However, when you look at it, my circle definitely looks more like a circle. What you're going to do now, once you have your circle, it's not going to be perfect, and that is fine. Mine is not perfect. Fold it in half. It looks like a little taco. You can even see mine's not perfect because it doesn't line up exactly, and that's fine. After I fold it in half, open it up, and just like we did for that scarf part, I'm just going to cut right on that line. So now you have two semicircles or half circles. And again, I'm going to set that aside because I don't need that yet. Last step of cutting, you're going to get our little tiny black rectangle. These are going to be the eyes. We're going to be making two eyes just from this one piece. Take your rectangle and fold it in half. Now you should have a square shape. Keep it folded. And what we're going to do is same exact thing. We're going to make a circle. So cut off our four corners and then keep trimming until it's round. This one, because it's folded, and as we do it, you're going to be able to cut two circles at the same time, but it is small. So what I suggest is really hold on to that center piece so your two shapes stay together as we're cutting. So go around, cut off all four corners, and you're going to be left with a little octagon. Next step is trim off those 8 corners. Mine automatically came apart because the part that was holding it, the fold, I trimmed it all off, so they automatically fell apart. Yours may not have. If they haven't, just pull them apart gently. I'm looking, sometimes when our shapes do come apart and don't stay folded together, we miss a little area. So right here, I can even tell didn't get that little spot. So I just go back and trim. I have all my pieces. Now it's time to assemble my little snowman. I like to kind of put the shapes and pieces where they should go. And then from there, I like to change it. In my sample, you can see, I am going to show you how I added details. You can see though that I like to make my cheeks a little bit crooked just because I think it's cute. I also did the nose at an angle. My eyes are a little at an angle. You can do what you want to do. If you want to leave it like this and it's all straight, that is totally fine and up to you. I do like to kind of adjust and figure out where I want them to be. I do like putting my cheeks a little crooked. And you guys will see how if you change like how the eyes are or how the nose is, it can kind of change how your snowman appears, his expression. So pick something that you like, try out different things. You could put your eyes closer together, you could put them farther. Put everything closer. So what's fun is that every time I do this, and I'm doing the same exact thing, I can end up with a completely different looking snowman. I think he's very serious if I do his nose. I'll do it like that maybe. More straight. And another thing is you'll notice that these two snowmen, my noses are going opposite ways. Doesn't really matter. You get to decide how you want it to look, just like if you built a real snowman. You get to decide where everything goes. And I moved that eyeball. I think. I'm gonna put my glue lid on and I snap it shut to make sure it's closed. My last step is just adding details, and this should be fun. If you don't want to add details, you do not have to. It's one of those things that's completely up to you. I am going to get my black crayon. I want my white crayon. It's one of those few times we actually want that white one. And I did get an orange. I got a red orange. This is a little bit darker than this orange color I have, which is what I want. I think I want to do a dark green for my scarf. I'm going to add some stripes on my scarf. I'm going to start with my scarf. An easy way to add details is just take your crayon, and I like to add just lines going up and down, almost like tally marks if you've done tally marks. But instead of doing the line to go across at 5, just keep going with the straight tallies. Once you get to this part, if you are doing your stripes, all you're going to do is turn it and do your stripes going up and down again this way. Then I turn this way. And you can tell I'm not even worrying about the spacing, just drawing lines. Added my details. The next one I'm going to do is my carrot. I like to add just some lines going across. They don't really need to make any sense. And I do this because if you've ever looked at a carrot from the grocery store, one that's actually comes straight from the grounds, and so not the baby carrots. If you look at the ones that come straight from the ground, you'll notice they do have these indents or marks. They're usually a little bit darker than the rest of your carrot. So I like to actually add that with my crayon. My next step. You could do this with a crayon, with a marker. You can also actually use paint and use your fingertip or Q-tip. I'm going to do the little mouth, and all I do is I draw a black circle. And the fun thing about this is you can make them as big or as small as you want. And I like to make a smile. You could just do one, so looks like he's surprised. I like to do a smile though. And I'm gonna make mine go up towards my cheeks. All right, last step. This is my favorite part because it makes your snowman look a little bit more alive. I'm gonna take my white crayon and I'm gonna use it to draw a light mark. So where if you look at someone's eye or we look at pictures, it's where the light hits and it reflects off. I'm gonna draw that on both eyes. And usually when we look at that on a picture or a photograph or anything like that, it kind of looks like a little frowny face at the top of the eyes. Could be at the bottom. Depends where you want to put it. And the only thing you want to make sure is that if you're doing it down here, do it in the same spot in the other eye too. So I added my little light mark and he is done. Actually, I lied, he's not done. We have to do one last thing. I'm gonna flip it over and trim off these extra pieces. And now he is done. So cute. I love this one.